What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm PokeHunterJeff, and if this is your first time watching, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It just helps if you want to see more videos like this to get it out to more eyeballs. But today we are talking about Paradox Rift because this is the fourth video in this series of all the sets that are rotating out in April. We want to identify some really strong PSA 10 plays that before they spike. We want to catch them before all the hype comes in. So that's what we're trying to do today. Without further delay, let's take a look at some of these really strong PSA 10 contenders. All right, so first on the list, we are taking a look at Magby. This is a PSA 10 population of 626 out of 1,710 submitted. It currently has a 36% gem rate. So something you'll see with Paradox Rift is pretty much all of the IRs are going to hang around that number. That's markedly better than a few of the other sets we've already taken a look at. However, that's still bad. A 30% gem rate is not good. And what I love about this card is you can currently pick it up for $87. Now, what I'll say too is because populations are low on these cards, there might not be a ton of listings for them, but just be patient, guys. Don't, go on eBay and buy, if there's only, 2 or 3 listings of something, don't just buy something super expensive and overpriced. Be patient. Other listings will come on the market. And specifically for this card, I think I did see one that was listed for like 105, but it was up for best offer as well. So don't be afraid to put offers in, guys, too. Like, you could get some really good deals that way. Next up, we are looking at 2 different cards, but they pair together, the Plusle and the Minun. Both of them have about the same gem rate. It's anywhere between 35%, 39%. So for the Plusle, we're looking at 730 PSA 10 copies out of 2,051 that were submitted. For the Minun, a little bit higher, 850 PSA 10s out of 2,183 that were submitted. Now, the Plusle, at least on Collector, it looks a little weird right now because I actually just picked up one of these for about 180 in a PSA 10. But now the chart is spiking up to like $250 all of a sudden. When I go on like eBay, I'm not seeing many listings either, and there's a couple that are listed for over $300, which is crazy. Don't pay that, guys. I just picked one up for 180, and when I jump to the Minun, there's currently listings for right around that price right now. So not sure what's going on with the Plusle. I will say that as a caveat. But, the price that I was looking at was about 180 for both of these in a PSA 10. And I do think the chart is just a little weird right now. So press pause on the Plusle, but the Minun is also a very strong pickup as well. And I love the 2 arts together. If you can get both, that's great. They're really fun to display together. Now, jumping to the next card, we're looking at the Groudon. This was actually one of on my YouTube shorts. It was a PHJ's quick pick of the day. This card has spiked up recently. I was saying and shouting it from the mountaintops to buy this card raw at $70 or a PSA 10 if you could afford that. Both have jumped. Now to get it in a raw copy, it's about $100, and to get it in a PSA 10 was about $500. Now it's jumped $100 to $600. I still think it has room to grow. It's a very popular Generation 3 legendary Pokemon. Maybe not as screaming of a buy now just because it has seen this spike, but I think it's got a lot of room left to grow for sure. We're looking at a 5,601 PSA 10 population out of 15,950 submitted. So clearly a very popular card, one of the most popular in the entire set. It's gonna have long-term value, long-term demand. A gem rate of 35% is really bad, and I just think that this card does still have some legs to it, but I wouldn't be, just going all in on this card as much as I was just a few weeks ago. Now, next up, we're looking at the Garbodor. I love this card because, yes, the art is just a trash mountain, but if you get to see it in person, the colors really do pop on this card. I've got it in a binder, but I also have a PSA 10 copy, and I love just looking at that art. It's really cool. And what I also love about this is that it has an extremely low PSA 10 population. That's because not too many people have submitted it. There's currently 499 PSA 10 copies out of 1,287 submitted. That gets us about a 39% gem rate. One of the better ones on this list as far as a gem rate goes, but it's $126 in a PSA 10. That's pretty cheap. I really like the art, and I love anything right now that's like a sub 1,000 PSA 10 population paired with a bad gem rate of a nice artwork. It's kind of hard to beat that because we all know PSA has recently changed their grading standards. They're grading a lot harsher now. So for this card to ever get above a 1,000 PSA 10 population, I think is actually going to be pretty difficult. People were sleeping on these cards when Paradox Rift initially came out. And now that it's sat for, over a year, 2 years, enough time has passed that cards get lost, cards get damaged. You had, initial waves of people sending in these cards to get graded, but they were cheap, so not too many people did it. And so now to submit these cards, getting it back in a 10 is much more difficult. So at $126, I think it's a good pickup. But moving on to the next one, this is one of my favorites on the list, and I did feature it in another video recently. I'm talking about the Yveltal. So legendary from the XY games, 2,075 PSA 10s out of 5,734 submitted. That is a 36% gem rate. Currently $123, but back in September, it was over $200, guys. That to me is a screaming buy. Low gem rate, popular Pokemon, really cool art, and you're getting some nice value built in there. Pretty much all of the cards on this list too. The downside is very, very limited. You're talking about an older Scarlet and Violet set rotating out. Realistically, the price isn't going to drop much more, if any, and then you have huge potential upside on these cards. So the Yveltal is one of my favorite on the list today, but moving on to the next one, another personal favorite. I don't think it's going to have as much growth as the Yveltal, but I do like that it pairs with another card. These two that I'm talking about are the Swablu and the Altaria. Both have, the Swablu has a 36% gem rate and the Altaria has a 30% gem rate. Interesting point here is that a lot of the special illustrations in Paradox Rift actually have a worse gem rate than the illustration rares, which we don't see very often in the Scarlet and Violet era. But I do think that provides some really good value. I love that these arts pair together. They tell a story. The Swablu being with the Wingull, growing up with them, and then as the Altaria flying in the sky, still with the same pack of Wingull. I really like that. I think these cards will perform very well. Swablu, 719 PSA 10s out of 2,012 submitted. Altaria, 1,997 PSA 10s out of 6,560 submitted. Like I said, 36 and 30% gem rates respectively. The Swablu you can currently pick up for sub $100. I'm seeing it right around 90 to 95 bucks. I think that is a really, really good buy. In my eyes, there's no reason that a PSA 10 copy of this should be below 100 bucks. And then for the Altaria, it's currently 274, so one of the pricier ones on this list. However, just back in September of last year, it was over $350. Do you not think it's going to get back there? I think it's going to do that relatively soon. 30th anniversary is going to bring more people into the hobby, whether we like it or not. That's what's going to happen. And I do think, all these sets that are rotating out, that are older, are going to see some price rises as well. So jumping on to the next one, we've got Porygon Z, 763 PSA 10s out of 1,932 submitted. That's a 39% gem rate, and this is another one that is sub $100, about 98 bucks. You can pick up a PSA 10, and I really love the artwork in this. Porygon in the radio station, DJ booth, whatever you want to call it, and you get like the Pikachu neon sign in the background, kind of looks like the stamps you get on the anniversary sets. I think there's a lot of value in this card, especially sub $100. Next, we're moving on to another SIR that has a 31% gem rate, so worse than these illustration rares. I'm talking about the Garchomp. That has 1,840 PSA 10s out of 5,961 submitted. It's $180. And really, I think what I like about this card a lot is that it's very stable. If you're looking for a safe choice, I really like this card because it is based around this 180 range. It's bounced around maybe, $20 here and there for a very long time, for at least the past 12 months. It's provided a really strong base price for the card, and I do think we're reaching a point where it's going to start to spike. It's not the craziest artwork, but Garchomp is a very popular Pokemon, and I do think it will age well. Now, moving on to the next one, a third SIR, the Golisopod, 468 PSA 10s out of 1,679 submitted. This one has the worst gem rate on the list, 28% for an SIR. That is really, really bad. And that's probably why it's slightly higher than even the Garchomp, because Golisopod is not that popular of a Pokemon, but the PSA 10 is $140 right now. The fact that that's higher than a Garchomp should tell you that something is going on with this card, and what that is the really bad gem rate. Only 468 exist on the market, so again, could be really hard to find a listing at that price, but be patient. One will pop up eventually. You don't have to expect these to explode in price overnight. That's not what I'm saying. We're just trying to jump in on these plays before they do explode, which will happen eventually, guys. Now, next one is the Tapu Koko. This was also featured in another video of mine. Really cool card. I love the colors on it. Tapu Koko is a popular Pokemon from the Sun and Moon era. 1,109 PSA 10s out of 3,075 submitted. 36% gem rate, so kind of right in line with the IRs. It is sub $100 in a PSA 10 for an SIR of a really nice card. So, when I'm talking about the Swablu and the Porygon and those cards being sub $100 in a PSA 10, this is an SIR that is also doing that. I really like that piece, and it was $140 just back in September. This is something that, if this sees that next spike, that's an immediate 50% return on your money. And honestly, I don't think it's going to just spike to 140 and then stay there again. I think it will probably beat that all-time high that it set previously. So I think what you're looking at here is a really good opportunity for an easy 50% on your investment. That's why it made the list. And then the last one is the Roaring Moon. This card I just don't think is getting enough love. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Huge fan of cards that feature other Pokemon in the artwork. And although, yes, the ancient future forms of Pokemon are not that popular, you just get so many Pokemon in this artwork. And it's pretty cheap, guys. There's 3,800 PSA 10 copies right now out of 11,000 submitted. That's a 34% gem rate, and it's $188. And what I love about this, when you look at the chart, just back in September of last year, it was nearly $300. I think it's going to do that again, and I think it's going to do that again relatively soon. I'm not talking, like a week or two or anything, so don't quote me on that. But I do think this card is going to perform very well, and you're getting it now at a really good price. So that's the list I've got for you guys today. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, also let me know. I want to hear your opinions on this. What cards do you like the most from this set? And really all the sets that are rotating out in April. This list is just made to try and identify those really strong PSA 10 plays to get in on them before things start to go crazy. I just think all these represent some really good value. So that's going to do it for today, guys. I appreciate you watching, especially if you watched all the way to the end. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll catch you in the next one. let's get hunting.